Welcome to today's stories. Today you are going to hear two stories about serial killers. If you like these stories, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The Butcher of Hollow Creek. The townsfolk of Hollow Creek had always considered it a peaceful haven, nestled quietly in the shadow of a dense forest. The residents enjoyed an existence undisturbed by the chaos of the world outside, until the day they found her. It was the third week of October when Sarah Walker, a young girl with a zest for life, went missing. She had been seen last joyfully skipping through the autumn leaves on her way home from school. When she didn't return by dusk, her parents' concern grew into dread. The search began immediately, with neighbours and friends combing through the forest, calling her name into the chilling evening air. But Hollow Creek was large, its woods thick and ancient, holding secrets in its shadows. Days turned into weeks. Search parties turned up nothing. The town's air grew heavy with an unspoken fear. It was as if the very soul of Hollow Creek had been siphoned away. Then the first of the packages arrived. At the sheriff's office, a small, nondescript box, no bigger than a shoebox, sat ominously on the front desk. It was addressed simply to the people of Hollow Creek. Sheriff Mason approached it with caution, his instincts screaming that whatever was inside was far from benign. He cautiously opened the box, revealing its gruesome content. A small, pale hand severed cleanly at the wrist. The delicate fingers were adorned with the remnants of a friendship bracelet, Sarah's bracelet. The sheriff's stomach churned as he recognized it. News of the grisly discovery spread through Hollow Creek like wildfire, shattering any remaining semblance of tranquility. Fear blossomed into panic. Parents clutched their children tightly, refusing to let them out of their sight. The once innocent forest now loomed like a malevolent entity, hiding horrors within its depths. Days later, another package arrived. This time, it was afoot. Again, identifiable as Sarah's by the small birthmark on the ankle. The people of Hollow Creek were paralyzed by terror, and a dark realization began to seep in. There was a monster among them, a sadistic killer who enjoyed their fear. As the weeks passed, more packages arrived, each containing a different part of Sarah's dismembered body. The sheriff and his deputies worked tirelessly, but there were no leads, no evidence, no signs of struggle. It was as if the forest itself had swallowed Sarah and regurgitated her piece by piece. The killer, dubbed the Butcher of Hollow Creek by the media, taunted the town with letters, each more cryptic than the last. They spoke of a game, a twisted hunt in which Sarah was not the first prey, nor would she be the last. He hinted at watching them, living among them, blending in so seamlessly that even his closest friends and family would never suspect. Hollow Creek was engulfed in paranoia. Neighbours eyed each other warily. Trust shattered beyond repair. Businesses closed early, and once bustling streets became deserted by sundown. One night, Sheriff Mason received an anonymous tip. It was a single sentence written in a shaky hand. Look beneath the old oak tree. The sheriff knew the tree well. It was an ancient, gnarled sentinel in the heart of the forest, a place where children once played and families picnicked. Gathering his deputies, Mason ventured into the woods. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. They reached the old oak, its twisted branches casting long skeletal shadows. Beneath it, they found a freshly dug mound. Heart pounding, Mason ordered his men to dig. As they unearthed the final resting place, they found not just the remains of Sarah, but the skeletons of several others, long missing but never found. Each victim had been meticulously dismembered, their bones cleaned and arranged with macabre precision. The discovery was both a revelation and a nightmare. The butcher had been at his grisly work for years, his victims blending in to the tapestry of the missing, never to be found until now. Despite the horror unearthed that night, the identity of the butcher remained a mystery. The packages stopped, but the fear lingered. Hollow Creek had been changed, its innocent butchered along with its children. And somewhere, hidden in plain sight, the butcher smiled, knowing that the greatest fear is the one that comes from within, where the monster is not a shadowy figure lurking in the dark, but the person standing right next to you. The Night Collector. The sleepy town of Ashford had always prided itself on being a safe haven, a place where everyone knew each other's names, and secrets were rare. It was the kind of town where children played freely in the streets, and doors remained unlocked. But that was before the disappearances began. It started with Matthew Davis, a well-liked high school teacher who didn't come home one night. His car was found abandoned on the outskirts of town, keys still in the ignition. The search for him lasted weeks, but no trace was found. The town mourned, but moved on, chalking it up to a tragic accident or a personal choice to leave. Then, Claire Whitman, a young nurse, vanished on her way home from a late shift. Her car was discovered in the same eerie manner as Matthew's, on the same stretch of desolate road. Panic set in, and whispers of a serial killer began to spread through Ashford like wildfire. Sheriff Tom Harding was a seasoned lawman, not one to jump to conclusions. But as the disappearances mounted, he couldn't deny the chilling pattern. Each victim was last seen alone at night, their vehicles found in the same isolated area, but no bodies were ever discovered. It was as if they had been plucked out of existence by some unseen hand. The town's fear was palpable. Curfews were enforced, and night patrols were increased. But the killer, dubbed the Night Collector by the media, seemed always one step ahead, striking with terrifying precision. Maggie Collins, a local journalist, was determined to uncover the truth. She started digging into the town's history, looking for any clues that might explain the sudden terror gripping Ashford. What she found was a trail of disappearances stretching back decades, each incident eerily similar to the current spree, but spaced far enough apart that no one had ever connected the dots. Maggie's investigation led her to an old abandoned house on the edge of town, a place shrouded in local legend. It was said to have been the home of Samuel Blackwood, a reclusive man who vanished without a trace in the 1950s, around the time the first recorded disappearance occurred. The townspeople had long believed the house to be haunted, and it had fallen into disrepair, avoided by all. Undeterred, Maggie ventured into the decaying structure, armed with a flashlight and a camera. The air inside was thick with dust and the scent of mould, the floorboards creaking under her weight. She searched room by room, finding nothing but remnants of a bygone era. Old furniture, yellowed newspapers, and forgotten trinkets. In the basement, Maggie discovered a hidden door, half concealed behind a crumbling bookshelf. Her heart raced as she forced it open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. She hesitated, then descended, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom, she found a macabre chamber, walls lined with shelves displaying glass jars. Each jar contained a grisly trophy, fingers, ears, and other body parts, preserved in formaldehyde. In the center of the room was a table, and on it a collection of old photographs showing the missing people of Ashford over the years, their faces frozen in fear. The room told the story of a serial killer who had been operating in Ashford for generations, each new night collector taking up the mantle of the previous one, passing down the grisly tradition. Maggie realized with horror that the current collector was likely a descendant of Samuel Blackwood, continuing the family legacy of murder. Maggie's revelation came at a price. As she turned to leave, she was confronted by a man in his 30s. His face a twisted mask of rage and satisfaction. It was Richard Blackwood, the town's beloved baker and Samuel's great-grandson. He had been hiding in plain sight, his friendly demeanour masking the darkness within. Richard overpowered Maggie, binding her to the table as he prepared his tools, relishing the terror in her eyes. She struggled, but her fate seemed sealed. Then the basement door crashed open, and Sheriff Harding, alerted by Maggie's earlier tip, stormed in with his deputies. Richard fought fiercely, but he was finally subdued and taken into custody. The town of Ashford was shocked to learn that their trusted baker was the night collector. The revelation shattered the illusion of safety, but it also brought a sense of closure. The disappearances ceased, and the town began to heal, though the scars of Richard's terror would linger for years. Maggie's bravery had unveiled a dark legacy, and Ashford would never forget the horrors that lurked beneath its tranquil surface. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe for more videos from the narrator.